DaNNaD presents.
Hey yo, I take him out like Liam Neeson, chasing Albanians, decapitating aliens like a Saudi Arabian. Should be playing at the Palladium with crowds of stadiums. My house leaks the radiance from the house in my cranium. It's deep. My capacity could surpass a Mayan. I pass a Ryan and use his belt to lash a lion. I'm kinda slush, burning kush like the burning bush. Shit you click out without pushing and then I turn and flush. I'm not another mathematical statistic. Many men were born with many animal characteristics. Trying to use the light the Lord gave me as a born baby. I was always crazy, called Scorzayzee. Probably read more books than a man in prison. From science and religion to psychology and cannibalism. From underneath the Amazon River I blow a dart.
Well, I'm joined in this wonderful surroundings. It's the first time I've been back here for like a year and a half. I remember when, was it Craig was showing me around, and it's an awesome place. But anyway, I digress.
It's amazing.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
This is, and I'm going to get this right now. I know you were Scorzayzee, or is it Scores?
Oh, it's Scorzayzee, but everyone says Scores now.
Is it? Now,
or Scorzilla.
Scorzilla?
Or Illa Scores.
Illa Scores.
Or Scorzayzee, Illa Scorzilla.
I like your style. Now, why did you originally have the name Scorzayzee?
Originated from the time of when I grew up. We was listening to a lot of 90s gangster rap, and back then it was kind of like really the in thing to choose like a mafioso name. So hip hop went through periods where certain artists were called Jamal or Malik, and then there was a time where people were like Frank White, the gangster mafioso, and the guy who made the Goodfellas was called Martin Scorsese.
Yes.
But then I wanted to spell it different, and then it ended up being Scorzayzee. But then people couldn't say it on the radio, so I had to put hyphens in it, so they could say Scorzayzee without getting tongue twisted. and then it's just Scores. So,
Beautiful.
Yeah, Scores.
Okay, so listen. You've been around for a long time, even though you look like a man that is just a boy. You look young.
Yeah.
So clearly, oil of Yule or cocoa butter is going on that face.
It's when you do music and you do hip hop from like 14 years old. If I look in the mirror, I'm 167. You're like them vampires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So how did you get into rapping in the first place? Do people still use the word rapping?
Yeah, rapping.
Okay. Forgive me.
Yeah, I do anyway.
Okay,
but the kids might say, I don't know, barring.
I don't know.
Barring, spitting.
Yes.
I kind of someone borrowed me a hip hop tape, you know, like you first hear it, and then I used to listen to Heatwave radio every day. So that was my only. Back then, obviously, no internet, so you'd only be able to hear the radio or whatever, or a tape that someone borrowed you. So I used to listen to tapes, and then I used to go around my friend's house, and we would record using the headphones as a microphone.
Okay.
Like, I don't know if the youngsters know you can do that.
Yeah.
You just put it in a different jack, and then you just rap down it. I think it was my escape. So
From what?
I don't know, from boredom, from stress at home, like from life. So I used to just write raps, and then I used to just walk around with a load of pieces of paper in my back pocket.
From underneath the Amazon River I blow a dart. It's elementary that my ancestors built the Noah's Ark. That's why the Masons want to study my geometry. Lock me up in a colony, microchip my biology, cause my knowledge is deeper, can't be found in a college degree. Might as well record my whole life, chew me and swallow me.
And then it wasn't until I went to Acne Centre to a recording studio where they invited me to come on a drug prevention project in St Anne's, and we did a record. So we got a bit of funding to put a record out, and it was about drug prevention. I ended up being on that record, and then one of the tunes on that record ended up getting played on Tim Westwood. So I was only like 15 years old at the time. So I was going to school with the tape. So I'd record it on Westwood on a Saturday on Radio 1, and then go and pass the tapes around at school. So everyone was like, wow, because being 15 on Radio 1 is like a big thing. So it's always kind of been like the Superman to my Clark Kent sort of thing.
Yeah. Wow. So when you went on to Westwood's show, were you, because you're 15 at the time, do you feel wow, or do you think it's Tuesday?
Yeah, no, it was amazing because you used to sit there and listen live whether he'd play it or not. So, and then it just suddenly came on. Now I was running around the studio.
Well done.
Yeah, I felt like on top of the world because all my heroes were being played on that radio station. So it was like a victory lap.
Good man.
In the studio, and then that just. I mean, working with Trevor at CRS, Community Recording Studio.
Big Trev.
He obviously he's got away with the youngsters where he automatically puts you in a real situation, so you're doing it for real, rather than we're doing a community project, you can pretend to be a rapper. So like within the first couple of weeks of showing my raps to Trev, he was already taking me to Heatwave Radio.
That's the pirate station in Nottingham.
It was the pirate station in Radford. So I went down there, 15 years old,
Wow.
I remember, and it was amazing seeing the Heatwave radio station room, because I've been listening to it for a long time.
Okay.
So you get to see, you know, like knock on the door, the DJ's playing. It's my first time I've ever saw a radio station in my life.
Wow.
And then it ended up being on the Saturday show with Styly C, doing some raps with Lee Ramsey, because he used to rap with me. So he was kind of like the main rapper, and I would follow and do a few bars. So yeah. So being thrown in the deep end kind of made you want to do it for real.
So tell me some of the highlights in that 20-year career that you've had, you'd say.
I would say rapping on the mic for the first time in the studio, feeling them little nerves when everyone's listening, getting past that bit. Then the first time ever rapping live on a microphone at a gig, which was the Sneinton Festival in about 94 or 95, to like a crowd of like mums and dads with the kids on the shoulders. And then after that, it was Courtney, Trevor's brother, who after I rapped live said, "You're amazing live, you need to work on the live stuff." So I more became better live than I was in the studio, or even, you know, like in a room.
I know you're gonna dig this.
Oh yeah, perfect. Let's get ready to rumble.
Okay. Right, we got Scorzayzee inside right now, man. It's about to go down. It's about to get crazy. Zilla, this guy's a monster. He scores down, man. Yo.
I just kind of came alive, and yeah, so that's a highlight. And then obviously getting played on Westwood was a highlight. Getting put on a first vinyl was a highlight.
Was it Art of Deville?
We formed a rap group called Art Deville. We was like 7 or 8 members. So the highlights are I'll show you all the milestones of what happened. So then we ended up going on like Westwood live, freestyling live, and then coming back to Nottingham and everyone saying, "Oh, we heard you last night." That was quite cool. And then we started gigging and touring. So then there was the first time I ever rapped on radio in London, which was Choice FM DJ 279 in Brixton. Then I ended up going on Max and Dave on Kiss FM in London, freestyling and stuff. Then I ended up doing gigs. The first gig I ever did in London was a place called Subterranea, supporting Smith & Wesson, who was quite a big rap group at the time. And that was my first kind of gig in front of like 2,000 people at a real show. And a young artist jumped up and tried to battle me, so we had a little battle. So on my very first gig in London, I had a rap battle.
Wow. And how was that? How did you feel about doing that?
Yeah, it was weird because I'd never been in a proper rap battle before as like live on stage, so it was a good experience. But that rapper ended up being Jest, who was like a UK hip hop artist.
Wow.
So his name's Jest. So he jumped up, but I didn't know it was Jest until I met him a few years later, and then says, "Oh, you was the guy that I battled." And yeah, that was a good experience. So battling at Smith & Wesson, that was good. And then when Radio 1 Extra came out, we was getting played a lot on Radio 1 Extra, and I brought my track Creps out. So I had a track called Creps in 2001, and Creps was kind of like a Nottingham word from Nottingham for trainers. And I've tried to, I don't know, I keep asking people like, when was the first time you heard the word Creps? Because we only ever heard it on the streets in Nottingham. We used to say, "Oh, you got new Creps." So I never heard it anywhere else, and I never heard it in any other town. But then I did a tune called Creps. That's another highlight on Radio 1 Extra. And then after that, everyone in the country calls the trainers Creps, because that tune was on the A-list playlist.
Wow.
So yeah, so then I kind of went out with a little bang at 22, 23 with a song called Great Britain. Great Britain was a really controversial political record. It kind of got in the newspapers.
Why?
Because
it is great, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it was called Great Britain sarcastically, but it wasn't like an attack on people. It was more like, at the time, it was like the BNP still exists in Great Britain, police brutality exists in Great Britain, slavery made the riches of Great Britain. The Queen wears stolen diamonds, Great Britain. Her husband's a Freemason, Great Britain. They killed Lady Di, Great Britain. So it was kind of controversial at the time. because before like the internet, this is before YouTube and that, so people could investigate stuff more. So all the lyrics were just firing truth, that my truth or whatever my truth was back then, and it was kind of deemed offensive because it was spoken about in Parliament.
Really?
Yeah, it spoke about. They tried to ban it, and then it got in the newspaper, and then record labels wanted to put it out, and then I think it was Wise that my mentor and manager at the time, Trevor, he was like, they're gonna put you as the villain on the newspapers, so it's going to be unsafe for you, you know, because it's not good to have quite a lot of fame and but negative fame, because negativity will can destroy people. Or some guy in EDL or BNP or some lone, what do they call them, lone wolf will come along and shoot you, and you know, like, so it was good to pull that off the radio. And then I just kind of had a break from music for a bit.
How long?
23 to 28, so like 5-6 years. Yeah. So I started getting back into it 2008, 2009.
System here. Don't want to stress the issue. Why you think they're spending billions on advanced weapons that rip your flesh and tissue? I like the rhymes that awaken the mind. A human being with a soul and not an ape in his prime. Fuck the caveman shit, that's a slavery trick. Even Masons, they believe in a creator for this. They tried to keep me dumb, but deaf people do more than see the tongue. If evolution's true,
went through like a few problems, man. I was diagnosed with schizophrenia. I was smoking too much weed every day. I was addicted to weed, but big time.
Wow.
So I kind of stayed out the way. Nobody really saw me.
So when you say you addicted to weed big time, what does that mean?
No self-control.
What does that mean?
Well, like smoke weed in the morning as soon as you get up, smoke weed at lunchtime, smoke weed in the evening, go buy weed. If you're not got weed, you're in a bad mood.
Serious?
Yeah, addict, really.
Every day?
Every day.
What,
Yeah,
Sundays?
Sunday, Monday, no matter what day it was.
Serious?
Yeah, that's what addicts do.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what day it is, they're so stressed. And then that kind of led to like extreme poverty because you're spending all your money on that. That's kind of like well documented in some of the interviews I've done, because I did a Radio 1 documentary called The S Word.
What stands for?
So you lot are going to like Google this and put the little things in the bottom. Called The S Word. You can get it on SoundCloud. It was Mr. Jam, and it's like the full feature in-depth version of that.
So what does S stand for?
The S Word. It was schizophrenia.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was diagnosed with like psychosis and schizophrenia because I was not only abusing myself with I'm not saying that weed is bad. It's how it was my relationship with weed that was bad.
So how can you make your relationship with weed good? Is that such an argument?
Well, too much of anything is bad for you, isn't it?
Good man.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, you know, the extreme highs come with extreme lows, and then if you can't go without it, but mostly it's the poverty thing that goes with it. Like a lot of addicts, they're in poverty. Most of their stress comes from that, because there's a lot of doctors addicted to hard drugs, but they can afford it, so you don't see them begging with like, you know, bad skin and they don't wash and. You know what I'm saying? No, you know what I mean. You don't. No, you know what I'm saying. Like they don't look after themselves.
Yeah.
Like, there's people out there who can afford it who don't. You know, particularly. So with addiction, a lot of poverty goes with it. You're running around all the time. You might be buying a bit to sell it to get some more. So you're constantly in that thing.
So how much would you say you were spending a day at your height? Or a week?
I don't know, like 10, 20 pounds or something.
A day?
Yeah.
So that's, say if it's almost 70 to 140 quid a week?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Depends whether you could, I don't know, like spend your, I don't know. It was there anyway, because when all your friends are doing it and when you're around that, it's very easy to get hold of. It's very easy to get hold of and very easy to try and, you know, like skim off the top and get some and give it to someone else or whatever.
So how did you get out of that cycle?
So basically I had enough. Obviously I had the illness, and there came a day where I moved into a place into like an apartment that wasn't the location wasn't very healthy. So I was like we're in this room now. There was like a neighbour there, neighbour top right, neighbour top left, neighbour above.
Isn't that called a flat?
Yeah, like a flat, but not like a building. It was a ground flat.
Okay.
So they all made noise. They was all drunk. There was all drug addicts around there, and I just had enough. And I said, look, in order to get out of my situation, and had enough of this stress. I stopped enjoying the weed and was more annoyed by the stress of it all.
Got you.
So I had enough basically. So I just stopped.
And was there any withdrawals?
Yeah, loads. Couldn't sleep.
For how long was this?
Like 3 or 4 weeks.
Whoa.
Yeah, couldn't sleep. Like, but what kind of got me through that was just the fact that when I told my family, yo, I'm I don't do it no more, and the happiness of seeing their happiness and
Serious?
the relief. Because if you've got kids and imagine your kid was like that and they turn around and say, I'm all right now. Because my mum says to me, look, you know what, I had a dream one that you came to me like, and you like, because I'd ballooned up to like 21 stone.
Wow.
Trying to lose a bit now, still I've got 17, so
Good man.
yeah.
Well done.
But anyway, I've put 6 stone back on. I lost loads of like 10 years ago. But my mum said I had a dream of you, that you came into my bedroom and you were slim. And he says, oh mum, I'm all right now. So that gave me a bit of motivation that I wanted to do that, and sorted my life out. There was a bit where I did lose weight and I was slim, and I said to my mum, remember you said that one day I'll be all right? She goes, yeah, you're all right. I said, that's me now, I'm all right. So she was like, yeah. So I made a dream come true.
Good man.
So that's what's motivated me, because I knew when you're an addict, and it doesn't matter what it is, because some people think you can't be addicted to weed, and I challenge anyone. Yeah, I'm not saying it's not good for your health. I'm not saying that like it doesn't cure cancer, and but I challenge anyone, if you're doing it on a Monday morning and it affects your job, your relationship with your kids, if you spend it more than you spend it on your bills and it affects your family, then you're an addict. Full stop. And you haven't admitted it.
Good man.
You know what I'm saying? If you admit it, and you just go, look, I'm an addict and I need to sort it, and just go through that little bit of pain, go through the sleepless nights, because I'm on the other side, walking down a sunny road, waving, saying I'm that person, I'm the other side that you could be at, but you've just got to go through a bit of darkness to get there. So look at me, I'm waving, saying this is what you can be like. I don't even, like when you're an addict, you actually think, can you get through one day? And that one day seems like 1,000 years. I'm telling you, you can get through it, and you can, and now I don't even think about it.
What? So how long?
I will wake up in the morning and think, remember
Serious?
the weed days. I don't think I've got something to do. I want to do this today, I want to do that. You don't think like, oh, remember that, or I miss it. I don't sit there and go, oh, I really miss. But when you're at the time, you that's the same with like, I mean, there's some drugs that obviously are physical addictions. So maybe we need to sort homelessness out. We don't need homes, we need care units. You know what I'm saying? Care units, like hospitals. We need hospitals, really, because they're not mentally, they're unwell. Like, so when you see people begging, they're not just in an addiction place. They're in a mental place as well, and there's not enough funding for. Like the way I look at it, the government are looking like you can't save everyone. So the way the government are looking at it, I think they're just thinking you can't save everybody, and there's not enough for everyone. So
I look at the government, and you made a good point. But if you can't save everyone, who are they trying to save?
They're trying to just, for me, the government are trying to just keep order and keep everything ticking over like a machine. Yeah, and unfortunately, machines don't have flexibility. Computers and forms, and like what a form for you that you have to fill in might not be the same form that person, and they have to come up with loads of different, like point A. If point A doesn't work, go to point B. And you've got all people working in call centres if point B doesn't work, and if point A, and regulations, and it just needs a bit more flexibility. So it's impossible to have 12, 13 government members trying to run 60 million people. It doesn't work.
You see, when I become Prime Minister, which is...
That's what's going to happen, isn't it?
That's what we're rolling for, bro.
That's it, yes. Yeah.
Home Secretary.
Yeah.
I'm having you as Home Secretary. You know what?
Yeah.
Because you care.
Yeah.
You're a beautiful man,
Yeah.
you know.
Thank you. Yeah.
You care. You can tell.
Would that be a bad idea though?
Having you as Home Secretary.
Wouldn't that be the same? Because I'm not qualified.
And they are qualified.
They're qualified to go into meetings and say, I've done this in the past and now I'm qualified.
When
do we need a government?
No. So that means I can't be Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Well, that means I'm going to have to continue to work at McDonald's. What a sad thought. Maybe I digress.
Well, maybe they run it as a business.
Well, you see, I look...
It's like the CEO.
Yes. I think the world lacks people who are guiders that care.
Yeah.
So no one can convince me that Boris Johnson cares about anything but Boris Johnson and Boris Johnson's world. But he's Prime Minister now.
Yeah. Well, he'll be Prime Minister 4 years. There'll be another one, and they'll all. They can put it on their CV. I was Prime Minister, and now I get 100 grand a year after that because I was Prime Minister. And
Course meal, you're like a tic tac, you just can't take it. Beat up like my fat, my raps go bang, your raps go pit pat. Tell your girl to lick that. I don't like to chit chat. I sit back and plot and plan how to make a big stack. The force of the impact, put your hips where your ribs at. Leave you in a mismatch, lyrically leave your shit smashed. What you don't know won't hurt you. Paying debts for your soul, and at the end hope the devil don't reimburse you. In a life of sin, it's like a boxing match between good and evil. Life is the ring, the money is Don King. The referee's your destiny.
Final question. You thought it was going to be short, didn't you? Okay, forgive me, I lied.
I've probably got 2 rooms now, panicking.
Okay, well, this is the final question. Okay, what advice would you give somebody who was feeling the doors of opportunities were constantly being slammed shut in their face?
We are living in a day and age now where you can control your own destiny. We have social media, the internet, so many resources at our hands. Don't rely on anybody. And like a quote I seen the other day, if someone gives you a massive opportunity, you don't know how to do it, say yes and then figure out how to do it after.
Scores, the most inspirational man I've interviewed for a while. You're next level, bro.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you interviewing.
Bless you.
Stick a couple bricks where your lips flap. Yo, Zilla's back, silverback gorilla rap. No backpack, like a whack Mac Miller track. Do more than fill a gap. Still a twat, still a prat. Your rappers find his best match, Jack Hat, still a black. Yo, shout out to Zach and Charlie Slough, fire in the streets. Scorzayzee, big up to Knox, Nottingham, everyone. Yeah, man.